quote, "Would you like an intimate massage, sir, by a pretty young girl?" And he says the offer seemed so weird and out of place that he swiftly declined. But then he said from his time in observing intelligence affairs, this reeked of what they call a honey trap, which is a tactic to ensnare and blackmail people. And as he puts it, was old already when Babylon was young. And he said, no doubt, he said that right next to the lobby of this guy's house was a room, a discreet room, with a massage table and lubricants. And he said, and he guesses, certainly cameras. And that was the most important takeaway from that. Was
that Jeffrey Epstein is not subtle.
Yes, exactly. So something I want to point out, because you've been seeing a lot of people talking about the Epstein thing in our circles. And, people love to go, oh, here's a picture of Donald Trump with Jeffrey Epstein at a party with 1,000 other people. Got him. Or here's a picture of Bill Clinton with Jeffrey Epstein at a party. Or the new Daily Beast article that just came out that I read through that on first glance doesn't seem to really have anything smoking gun-wise. It's just more like, hey, Jeffrey Epstein was invited to the White House and he's hobnobbing with rich people. I want to be clear about something. I definitely think a lot of these people are involved in this. I think Bill Clinton certainly was ensnared in this honey trap very early on, and from that point on was being blackmailed or implied by Epstein. Point being, just because somebody's in his book or he knows them or they're at a party doesn't necessarily mean they're a pedophile. I know it's a hard, or maybe that's funny for me to say that because I kind of go the other way with this. I'm very big on the Epstein thing, but it's important to not get too over our skis on this, that someone like Epstein's job, because he appears to have been an intelligence asset for maybe America, maybe some other country that is as important or more than America. Maybe, so he was doing the Lord's work, let's say. It's almost as though he was
working, he was
the role.
Okay, let me put it this way. Whoever Jeff Epstein was working for, it wasn't the American people, and it wasn't the office of the president.
Yes. Who could it be that's that important? But anyway, his job is literally to ingratiate himself with power brokers.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the ways you do that is certainly that there are going to be people that you want to ingratiate yourself with who you don't even actually have any intention of honey trapping or blackmailing or anything. But they can get you to other people. So the more famous friends you have, the more rich friends you have, the more A-list people are at your party, that gives you clout and credibility that you can use to get the people you're after. So maybe you invite 1,000 celebrities to your party and you don't really give a fuck about any of them. Like, maybe Chris Tucker is on the Lolita Express because Chris Tucker is in on your scheme. Or maybe it's because Chris Tucker was somebody who answered one of my calls and now he's another name in my book. So when I talk to someone else, I can say, oh, Chris Tucker was just on my plane. And then I can get them to hang out with me. And then I can say to someone else. And then I work my way up to presidents, popes, prime ministers, whoever. And I get to say, hey, I know all these famous people. All these famous people know me.
I do like the idea, though, that Jeffrey Epstein is super unsubtle and Bill Clinton is just such a stone-cold psychopath that, he's impossible to blackmail. That, he got on the plane and then, he did his thing and Jeffrey Epstein is like, ha, I gotcha. Now do what I want. And then as soon as the plane landed, Clinton is like, I want to fly again. And then he flew again and Epstein's like, I got you again. And I want to fly again.
The other
sort
point.
Of just exhaust, it's like I want to take another free plane ride, and now Jeff Epstein has got to start paying for jet fuel. He's got to start getting clearance. I think the point is I want to get you or wherever just the amount of times I need until I can get you ensnared. And Bill Clinton probably got ensnared on the first try, and then you're like, got ya, and Bill Clinton's like, whoa, let's keep this interesting. When he's supposed to be saying, I got to get away from this guy. Pay him what he wants, give him what he wants, and let's get the hell out of here. Instead, he's going, I like that guy, Jeff. He seemed like a cool guy. Got to go back to his plane more often. Hey. The funny thing is that one thing I do want to point out is, the whole private island and all that shit. With the, we talked about that, right? His private island with the weird Solomon temple on it. Yep.
That the private citizen got the drone in there and saw that it's currently being basically totally demolished from the inside.
Yep.
And there was also mattresses and scaffolding in there. So they're doing work there, and for some reason, there was mattresses in there. Who knows? Probably for totally innocent explanation.
Peaceful purposes.
I had a theory about this that was now confirmed by the Margolis piece. which was that what I was saying before, what I was going to say was, I think anyone who's been on the island is certainly a prime suspect. But other than that, it's more just that they know it. Because my thought was, this guy, if he's an intelligence asset, you can't be too brazen about this kind of shit. So that's why you have the island, right? You're the home in New York and the place in Florida. Maybe some stuff goes on, but for the most part, the island is where it's at. So my thought was, if you've been to the home, not necessarily, right? And as we've seen, if we believe Eric Margolis, not necessarily. Maybe you've been to the home and you went, yikes, and that was kind of the end of that. Or you went to the home and you said, Jesus, what the fuck is this? And then you just kept your distance, but you didn't really do anything about it.
Banned him from Mar-a-Lago and stuff.
Exactly. But now I think we can be certain that if it's true that when you're invited into his home, you're basically instantly offered to have sex with a child, that anybody who's been on that island, I think that's the point at which you can't say, yeah, I thought it seemed weird, but who knows? People can be weird. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. It sounds like once you've been on the island, you pretty much are like, let me put it this way. When Saddam Hussein invited people to his palace, do you think he didn't show them the rape dungeon? Do you think he said, oh, well, no, that's just for me? No, I'm pretty sure he probably said, hey, you got to check out my rape dungeon. It's pretty cool.
I legitimately forgot he had that.
Yeah, exactly. When Jeffrey Epstein invites you on the private island, are you going, hey, what's that creepy-ass temple you have over there? That odd religious-looking temple with the gold dome on it? What is that? Do you think he goes, oh, no, that's let's just hang out at the tennis court? That's
the processing room for the pool.
Yeah, exactly. That's just where the pool equipment is. Now, we now know that he goes, oh, you want to know about that? That's interesting because that's exactly where I was going to take you. It's the best fucking thing on the whole island. That's clearly the reason he brings you to the island. Point being, anybody who's been on that island is definitely either has had sex with a child on camera in front of Jeffrey Epstein, has murdered a child or something like that on camera in front of Jeffrey Epstein, or has certain knowledge that happened and they were around and they did nothing about it.
Yep.
So at the very least, if you've been on his island, my guess is you probably witnessed someone doing something heinous and unspeakable with a child, and you went, well, I'm going to pretend I didn't see that because I don't want to deal with that, which is enough for the death penalty. Kill everyone who's been on his island. Speaking of...
Oh, yeah, speaking of...
Speaking of weird sex perverts...
Yes. Now, this episode, dear listeners, has been running long.
It's brought to you by Harry's Razors.
It's brought to you by... Speaking of shaving... All right.
When I want to shave my...
This episode has been going so long, I almost don't want to get into this, but it's just so perfect, Dan.
These next two stories are too good to ignore. If need be, for length, we could cut everything else except the clown world.
Yes.
Cut the whole Epstein thing.
Okay. Listeners, if you want to, if you're at if you're working out or you're in the car, if you got kids in the car, stop this episode now.
Stop it now.
Okay, I mean, if you somehow had your kid listening to the Jeff Epstein section, but for sure now is the time to stop. Feel free to pause the episode. This is a good stopping point. Check the timestamp, and then. And then you consider it done. Just listen to this, whatever comes, on a separate occasion, right? No, because we're done talking about news. We have another news article discussing. We expect this one will take it quite a bit, right? It's very weird that I'm negotiating with a listener that obviously I can't actually get a response from. I just want to carry across. You're
never supposed to negotiate against yourself,
right?
Out of the deal.
For sure. Listen to this episode. This section, what's about to come next, is going to be unbelievable, but true. But this is a good natural, you don't want to listen to this on a walk. You want to sit down.
Yeah. If you're on a walk, sit down on the ground right now.
Yeah. If you're walking around, sit down right now. If you're in class or something and you're listening to it in the back of the classroom, pause and listen to it during passing time.
Get up and leave the room. No, you can't pause. You need to hear it right now.
Get up and walk away and just get comfortable. Pull up a chair, make some coffee, make some tea.
All right, get to the point.
Let's talk about Jessica Yaniv. Jessica Yaniv is a Canadian transgender woman who has brought forward 16 human rights complaints because Jessica Yaniv is what we call pre-op transgender. In other words, Jessica Yaniv was a born male who identifies as a woman, but the change so far is not, she hasn't gotten physical yet.
Olivia Newton-John, she is not.
Right, she's not Olivia Newton-John. But she has not been patient, she has not been good, and we wish she kept her hands on the table. So Jessica Yaniv has brought forward 16 different human rights complaints to a tribunal, and that's what they call it, a human rights tribunal in Canada.
Just in case
she says she was discriminated against by 16 different businesses who all do like bikini waxes. All of them were operated by women, most of them operated by immigrants, just so we understand the progressive stacking that's happening right now. We have a bunch of immigrant women, many of whom speak English as not that well. They're working from home, coming from very, we'll call them patriarchal cultures, who are all asked to wax someone's testicles. They would need to, by the nature of the position, be in physical contact with male genitalia. It can be feminine male genitalia, or whatever the proper word is in 2019. The point is, this is a dick and balls that they would need to touch. And these women, for a variety of reasons, were not comfortable with doing that. So they said, well, first of all, the technique for shaving lady, or for waxing lady parts versus for waxing male parts is totally different. Second of all, I come from a country where if I touch balls that aren't my husband's, I get stoned to death. And even if I can't be, killed here and now, I'm starting to see now why those rules exist.
I always thought those rules were a bit much, and now they make perfect sense.
Now they make perfect sense. I understand. Yeah, so Jessica Yaniv said that her human rights have been violated, and a lot of these women's businesses have been, basically shut down by the ongoing litigation. Right? They can't do business.
Good for Jessica. The last thing this world needs is more immigrant women running their own businesses.
Right. Back when Jessica was Jonathan, she had some very problematic tweets about Canada's Sikh community. Hoping for immigration raids against them, complaining about the fact that they don't.
I got news for you. She's still got some pretty problematic tweets.
Oh, yeah. She says, okay, here's a Facebook comment from Jonathan Yaniv, who you now know as Jessica. It says, how do I explain this without getting banned on this group and sounding like a racist? First of all, I mean...
this is going to be good.
Right? That's how you know it's going to be good. And this shows that Yaniv
That's not I'm not racist, but that's them saying...
I was looking for the right way to phrase it.
Is there any way for me to say this? It doesn't
right,
sound racist?
Yaniv is clearly an amateur racist. Right? a professional racist will just know how to say it properly. But if you got to ask... So Jonathan says, we have a lot of immigrants here who gawk and judge and aren't exactly the cleanest people. They're also verbally and physically abusive. That's one main reason why I joined a girls' gym. Oh, that's the reason that they joined a girls' gym. Because this is
my God, the origin story of their transgender discovery is born out of racism.
Yeah, this is when Jessica was Jonathan.
I became a woman because I hate Sikh people.
Right, I hate immigrants. Becoming transgender to own the immigrants, apparently. So they joined a girls' gym because they don't want issues with these people, nor do I want anything to do with them in any way, shape, or form. They lie about they lie about shit. They'll do anything to support their own kind and make things miserable for everyone else. These immigrant women don't join these clubs because they have to be in gym clothes, and so because they're not there and never will be, it's a safe place for me.
He said it was about immigrant women?
Yes.
Wow, he really has literally a vendetta against immigrant women. And now, coincidentally, his gender identity has caused him to have to shut down and ruin the lives of at least 16 immigrant women.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it lucky how that worked out for him?
I mean, I'm going to link you to a lot of these, to some articles that, if you want to read when nobody's looking over your shoulder, where Jonathan Yaniv is very... I was laughing my ass off earlier in anticipation of these articles, but I'm actually increasingly becoming disturbed, dear listener. I mean, Jonathan Yaniv is actually incredibly curious as to how 12-year-old girls put in tampons. Asking, burningly curious. Asking, how to teach girls how to put it in. If he can be taught how to do it, then he can then relay this knowledge to young girls. On top of this, Jonathan Yaniv is obviously a pedophile, in case anybody's